Welcome everybody, old and new subscribers. If you are new in here, hi and welcome. My name is Illy and I'm going to be your humble guide during this reading session today. This reading, of course, is timeless, so it means that it is meant to resonate with you whenever you come across it. But just know that if you come across this video by around the time that I post it, then know that this is spooky season right now on my channel throughout all of the month of October. So there will be more darker readings like that and channeling session throughout all of the month. So if you want to skip ahead and go to the past selection, I completely understand that. Just know that the timestamps are already down below in the description box so that you can skip ahead this little introduction that I have for you. But as usual, for those of you who have been around for a while now, well, you know me, I just really love to speak about the magical and more practical properties of my readings. That is what my intros serve as. So today we're diving into the topic of shadow work, and most especially fears, because fears have been a very big recurring theme in my life, and especially lately, you guys, through my awake life, but also especially through my nightmares. So I've never spoken about that on the channel just yet again, but I plan to make oneiromancy readings because I am a natural oneiromancer. That is how I first tapped into my gifts. It was since I am very little. I used to get a lot of information, spiritual downloads through my dreams, through prophetic dreams, through dreams from the other side, and of course in nightmares. So since I was a little child, and still even today, I have sometimes those huge episodes of night terrors. And it's not just like, I know the difference in between a normal nightmare and just the type of nightmares that I'm experiencing, you guys, because I have both of those, you know. I have normal nightmares too, but then I get those other ones which are so freaking real. And I will speak more deeper into that maybe into the next video, because I have another idea for another pick a card reading related to that for you this month, so it should be coming up soon. So I already said enough. But since a very long time, because in part of those night terrors and all of those weird, very vivid dreams that I used to get, I've gotten really acquainted over the time to really take it into a habit to analyze my dreams and their deeper meanings and the sort of very big emotions that it will conjure up in me. And when we speak of nightmares, we speak, of course, of fears and whatever they may incarnate as. So I always personally interpreted internal and incarnated fears as parts of our shadow side that need to be expressed. So shadow work is basically an umbrella term, you guys, and it speaks of the psycho-spiritual integration of our shadow self. And our shadow self basically encompasses all of those deeper, darker, more subconscious parts of ourselves. So it can be anything basically that we have learned or have been conditioned to sort of repress within us, that we have been conditioned through the years to suppress, to be ashamed of, to find difficult to express. And you will have guessed it, sometimes they are the parts of us that we have learned to fear. So today we are going to explore deeper your fears, because I believe that there are a lot of shadow related insights to find in there, and to better understand basically the obstacles that you are currently traversing in your life. So we are going to take a look at those fears and what they have to say about you and about your present, of course. And the role here, of course, you will have guessed it, it is not to come to see our shadow as our enemy, but on the contrary, you guys, to start to partner it and to start to view our shadow as maybe this inner child within us that is sometimes a bit more difficult to accept, but that is so worth and so deserving to be loved and to be nurtured, just like any other parts of us, just like the beautiful, fuzzy, and warmer parts of us. So today in this reading, we're going to try to better equip yourself and arm yourself against those fears so that you get better at identifying them and at understanding their origins. And it's by learning how to identify our own inner demons that we can start to bring them at the surface of our consciousness, where they hold a lot less power over us. So if you're ready, I'm going to bring you to my altar right behind me, and I'm going to present to you the piles that I have for you today. Welcome to the pile selection, everyone. Before I start, let me just say a very quick disclaimer first. So please note that this is a general reading, so of course it will not resonate with just everybody, but it was crafted to resonate with the people that it is meant to reach. So this being said, there's probably still a message that is meant for you to be found in there, and maybe that you will come out of them with some value nonetheless. Please know that I'm also just another human being like you, endowed with an ego too. And although my interpretations, they come from the best of places, you guys, although they come from my heart to yours, they are still not the absolute. So please take in what resonates and leave behind the rest, and that's perfectly fine by me. So if you're ready, this is pile 1, pile 2, pile 3, and pile 4. So now I'm going to place some random images on top of each pile for those of you that it helps to choose. But I invite you to take those images as a grain of salt and to pick a pile because it resonates with your heart first. So once you have selected your pile, you can go down in the description box down below on the description section of this video and click on the timestamp associated with your pile, and from there enjoy your reading. So when I said that we're going to equip you guys and arm you today against your fear, I ain't kidding. So I've got different weapons for you to select from right now. So for pile 1, I have a poison. This is for pile 1. And the number on this card is 45. Then for the second pile, we have a shovel. And that is number 68 on the card. If that number rings a bell to anyone. This is for pile 2. And by the way, all of the piles you guys have an equal amount of cards. They're just placed in a different fashion. For pile 3, we have an axe. And this is number 56 on the card, if that resonates with anybody. Then finally, for pile 4, we have a dagger. And that is the number 19 on this card. So this is for pile 4. So I will now offer a 30-second meditation to help you tune in with the energy of this reading. So if you are ready for the meditation, please find a comfortable position where you can relax, and you can keep your eyes open because you will need to choose the pile that speaks the most to you. And if you're ready, let's call in together the spirits of this sacred space first, and let's begin. Welcome to everybody who has chosen pile 1. This is going to be a reading about your biggest fears in your life that needs to be addressed right now. So today we are diving into deep shadow work. It is the perfect season for that. And for those of you who are new here, welcome. I am officially announcing to you that this is spooky season on my channel throughout all of the month of October. So there will be more dark readings and channeling sessions to come. So this reading is divided into 3 sections for you guys. I'm going to start with your oracle cards over here, and that will sort of show me the general energies of what those fears may be or incarnate as for you in your life. And then we're going to turn your tarot cards over there, where we are going to dive deeper in more details into that. And then finally, I have also some extra oracle cards set aside for you, and with those we're going to take a look at how you may confront and resolve this fear into your life. So if you guys are ready, let's check out your first oracle cards. We have here the Ghost, then we have the House, Then the next card that we have for you is the Banshee. And this card says, heed my warning, dear child, for what I hold is far from unsung lullabies. Swallow a nail and you can expect bleeding from within. Then the final oracle card is the card of Bat. It says, invoke the power and fear not the hidden. What lurks is coming with undenying change. Interesting. So already the first sort of weird message that is coming to me is that perhaps that some of you guys have a fear of what is on the other side. And what I mean by that are forces that you cannot explain or cannot control. That could be what this fear often incarnate as. Noises that you hear maybe and don't know where they come from. The fear of what is in the dark as well is coming up here. But part one, what is sort of striking to me already is that you have received obviously both the card of the ghost and of the house together. So that makes me really think of a haunted house, a house filled with paranormal activities, or with bats in the attic that create the illusion of having some haunted home almost, and those noises that are playing tricks on you and on your mind. I don't know if some of you know what a banshee is, but basically a banshee is a female spirit from Irish folklore that used to bring the news of the death of a family member in the old tales. So this looks like your fear could have been this sort of ghost in the closet for you, Pawan. An energy sort of humming in the landscape of your life. Sometimes it is there and it seems so real, and other times it vanishes as quickly as it came. So perhaps that this fear is also something that you don't always notice being at play for a lot of you in your life, but yet I'm seeing it haunting you in a sense, or I am seeing it affecting you more on a subconscious level, if you want me to be honest. But whatever this fear is, it sort of over time became this sort of entity on its own, a disembodied form of intelligence in your life almost. So do you know what that makes me think of? It makes me think of like in a very classic horror stories or movies where there is this family moving into a new home and ready to embrace this fresh new start in this very new sort of quiet town, until they start to find out that their house is actually haunted, like straight out of hell. But meanwhile, they don't have the money anymore to move out, so they have no choice but to kind of stick through it and trying to either deal with it or on their own or call for the priest. Anyway, you get the jazz. So it's like this family is trying to move on, right? To start anew. But then there are ghosts in the house that keep bringing back the past alive. So I don't know if some of you have watched The Haunting of Hill House. You know, I'm a big fan of horror, you guys, and of TV shows. And this TV show, The Haunting of Hill House, it really made me cry my ass off. I've never been through so much different emotions than during this show. So I'm pretty confident to say that this must be one of my favorite horror, work of horror, hands down. So yeah, highly recommend that show if you haven't watched it yet on Netflix. But that's exactly what I see in your cards here. It's a haunting. It's you trying to move on while they are these sort of apparitions, thoughts, and illusions conjuring back this past alive, trying to trick you to hold on to it, which creates not only pain but also grief in a sense, where it's like you can't find a true sense of closure or properly move on from it. So the feeling that I'm having with your cards straight out of the bat is the impression of not being able to run away from this fear. And it feels like most of the time that's your subconscious that is conjuring them up, Pawan. It's your emotional body or your thoughts. And the more that you feed into it, the more it becomes serious and the more it gets out of your control in a sense. So this is interesting because this fear, I feel, was first conjured up through an event of the past. And ever since then, it's like you have never been the same since that event. It created this ghost that now follows you around in a sense. But let's see what your tarot cards will have to say now about this. So we have here the card of Temperance. Let me get closer to the camera. There you go. Then we have the Six of Swords reversed. Yep. And then we have the Star reversed. Yes, that makes a lot of sense now. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense, seeing the Six of Swords reversed and Star card being reversed as well. So that's exactly what I was saying. It's like something can find rest here, or it cannot transition or move on. And I'm saying that because the Six of Swords, normally it speaks of leaving a difficult past behind, Pile 1. It speaks of leaving the turmoil, the chaos, the pain, the trauma for more calmer waters. But then it's reversed for you, showing me that you haven't had the chance to make that full transit yet, as if this situation is sort of still in limbo for you. And then right next to that, we also have the card of the Star, which is also reversed. And the Star, it follows the Tower in Tower, which the Tower represents a moment of destruction. And that's because the Star teaches us how to build back a brighter, more promising future on the bones of the past. To use the bones of the past, basically, of what has been destructed, as a foundation to rebuild a safer, better, and more stable future than ever before. So that's why one of the associations with the card of the Star is recovery. But seeing this card also reversed, it sort of tells me that you didn't get to fully recuperate from this past, from that event that you were supposed to be able to heal from, Pile 1. And look, we have a card of Temperance here. And Temperance is also a card of healing, just like the Star, just on another degree. So you never had a chance to properly bury the past, no matter what this is. Perhaps because the memory of it could still, be a bit too painful for you to revisit. But the message here seems pretty clear to me. It seems like your biggest fear to address right now is being afraid of the past repeating itself again, of the past coming back alive in some way, shape, or form, of its reapparition. So I feel that for a lot of you guys, that past has been following you around for a very, very long time now. And mainly that's because you haven't found a true sense of closure yet on what has happened. So it seems like your spirit team notices that you still have many questions about it, about why this happened to you, why you received the treatment that you received, or why this thing have met the outcome that it did, why things ended up the way that they did. So that's the haunting that I see there with your cards. For some of you, let me just say that I'm picking up on something else here, and that part of the message may only be meant for a few of you, but that is the leftover of some grievance that I'm seeing here somehow. You know, grievance has many different stages to it, and many people go through those stages in their own and very specific way, and at their own time. Some of you could be struggling still to say goodbye to something, perhaps because you feel that saying goodbye means that you also have to abandon this person behind, or that this experience or this past, that you have to abandon it forever, basically. But you are not asked to abandon the past if that is what is the case, Pile 1. Because your past is your story, and your story is your power, and nobody can ever take that away from you, not even you. That past was a chapter that was important to the character arc of your life, and I hope that you don't take this the wrong way when I say that, because I say it with much compassion and love for you. I know that it sounds easy to say, but that's still a fact that I'm seeing in your cards here. So the thing is, for each and every one of you, this event that created that fear might be very specific and individual for you, but yet I'm seeing the undertone here being the same for you guys who have resonated and chosen this path. Whether this path comes from a relationship, whether your companion has been unfaithful, whether this is some form of loss, abuse, discrimination, or rejection that you have gone through, and that is still sort of hovering over you or waiting on you since weeks, months, even years. I'm sensing that this energy has kept you back from making peace with the present and from fully embracing your bigger, brighter destiny with the card of the Star reverse. That's this energy of, but what if it happens again? What if it comes back again? And there's just one thing that I feel the need to answer to that. And it's that one thing that we sometimes trick ourselves to think is to believe that we fear our future, but that's not the future that you fear, pal one. What scares the crap out of you is your past. The future is yet to be written, right? And there are still literally thousands, even millions of possibilities for when it comes to how you can shape your destiny. But your past, the past is already dead and written. There is no undoing of what has been done. And if you have come to see it as your burden, something that you need to carry along with you everywhere that you go, then that's like creating your own poltergeist. And that's the thing. When we see our past as our burden, we can only invite in but more of the past into our present Pawan. And when we have already been hunting our own selves for so long like that, who needs ghosts and dark entities, right? So some of you have gotten very afraid because you have noticed a certain pattern, that keeps repeating itself into your life. And one example that I have here for you is that perhaps that this pattern is that you keep attracting the same type of people, than the type of person that you are exactly trying to avoid. And I guess that this example came to me because I speak from experience here. So, you know, I used to have this very rocky relationship with a particular family member of I. And this person and I almost entertained this sort of love and hate relationship together with one another. And I hate admitting that, but that's kind of the truth that I felt back then. And we basically triggered each other in so many ways back and forth all of the time, until I found out one day that the type of partner that I kept attracting into my life was relationships that exactly were like that, like me and this family member that I had. So because I have tried so hard to avoid recreating that relationship in my life instead of dealing with it head on, I kept bringing more into it, into my own intimacy. So I had to become conscious that I was repeating my past here. What I was repeating here was my past that I had never allowed myself to sort of take the time to resolve. This past, it kept wounding me and affecting me in a new way now. You know, I will get vulnerable with you guys for a second because I feel the need to let you know where I come from, because I relate to that feeling very much. I have some very deeply rooted scars about alcoholism and violence, guys. Not only physical violence, but mental and verbal violence. And guess what type of partner that I kept attracting in my early adulthood as soon as I left this environment and childhood landscape? Verbally abusive and alcoholic partners. So one night, as I went to bed crying myself to sleep with a partner, the type of partner that I was talking about, it came to me like a lightning bolt. That was the exact same relationship dynamic than from this dysfunctional past that I had recreated. So as soon as I became conscious of that, I had the courage to actually let that person go and leave my life. And it was such a liberation. Let me just tell you. So I'm telling you that just so that you know that you guys are normal, because we recreate more of what we don't want when we try to avoid it the most. sometimes, and we all do that. We are all guilty of that. Because when we avoid our pain, our traumas, our heartbreaks, we give the signal to our brain to bury it into our subconscious as a survival mechanism, so that we can sort of go back to a sense of normal living, right? But that's such a dangerous thing to do, because as soon as a pain becomes deeply buried, it scars the soul and it transforms into the state that plays in the relationship that we create and the new experiences that we attract, because that's the alchemical process that it creates. So some of you, I see, have tried to recreate the past in some shape or another, whether that is conscious for you or not. That's what Temperance says here. She says that you hold the power to sometimes create your own hell on earth, sometimes by one, but that also means that you have the power to create your own heaven. So when you forget about that, the past becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And that's because this type of ghost or self-fulfilling prophecy, it's like a wheel, part one, where your beliefs about yourself influence your actions towards others, which impacts other people's belief about you, which in turn causes other people's actions towards you, which reinforces again that initial belief about yourself. So some of you have been asking yourselves how you're supposed to move forward if the past keeps repeating itself or re-emerging in your life in a different format from time to time. But that fear of coming across that experience again is one of your greatest obstacles in healing conflict and grief. So some of you could have experienced repeated losses, so much so that it could have hurt your sense of hope knowing that something better could be on your horizon for you. It's important here to not fall into the trap of thinking that you are cursed, punished, or doomed. You know, some people out there believe in the power of cursing other people, and I always personally didn't believe in this idea, because from all that I know and from everything that my own past has taught me, is that people already curse themselves all of the time. Right? We don't need some sort of dark sorcery to do any of that. People, we curse our own selves most of the time. We keep our own selves behind most often. And people that are cursing others for their own tragedies, they deeply curse their own selves, and accountability for that too. Sorry for saying that, but I mean it. I'm not saying here that we are responsible for the abuse that we receive or the injustices that we live. I certainly did not choose in my life to be violented, but I was presented with a choice though, to let that experience overpower me or to be the trigger point that would make my character arc curve, to be the marker of me rising above it. So that's what I feel here for you, Pawan. You are condemning yourself to a sure blessing and gift into your life if you stop yourself for a probability amongst thousands of others. If you keep avoiding similar situations because in the past it turned out a very wrong way. Your future, it has so much more in store for you than that. That's why this star card is here for you. You have such a bright and destined future ahead of you. I don't care if you are 18 or if you are 65 years old. But let's see now how you guys could better equip yourself to confront this fear and perhaps heal it. And of course, the first card that we have, look at that, is healing. It's healing, Ball. Then after that, we have anger. Okay. And then finally, we have opposition. And that card feels the same as anger to me. Okay, so this is so powerful. Anger has definitely become my area of expertise. And I'm saying that because of that past I was telling you about, you guys. I used to have a lot of difficulty managing my own anger when I was in my teenage years especially. And mainly that's because the only time that I saw the emotion of anger at play was always in a very destructive dynamic. right? It was always in this very negative experience for me and others. And because it created a lot of suffering in the people that I saw impacted by the mismanagement of anger from certain individuals in my life, it had sort of reinforced this idea to me that anger was bad, that anger only created violence, suffering, ego inflation. It means like for a lot of you, there's still a lot of anger related to that experience of the past for you in relation to that wound. And that's what keeps this ghost alive around you. You know, like when they say that ghosts feed on unresolved issues and heavily charged emotions like sadness and anger? That's what I kind of sense here. It seems like there is still some residue of anger and incomprehension related to that event of the past. And that's why this situation, it cannot find peace and rest for you, Pile 1. That anger needs to be processed and purged out of your system in a way that is safe for you and others around you, because that is key to your healing and to you properly moving on, as I see it in your cards here. Starting by looking at anger in a different way, Pile 1. I am ready to bet cash that a lot of you weren't invited often to express heavy, powerful emotions like anger. Perhaps that anger was something very discouraged for you in the past, or that you came to associate it with a negative thing to feel. But there is no such thing as a negative emotion, you guys. Don't let that new age stuff fool you. And I know that it sounds kind of funny to say, but I'm saying it because you are going to hear sometimes that love and light are the only true high frequency and legitimate emotions to express, right? While anger is the ultimate expression of the ego and is dangerous to express. And although I definitely understand the point that this message is sort of trying to make, I still think that there is a danger in promoting that and not denouncing very valid emotions like anger and sadness as being the low vibe ass feelings that everyone should blame in their life, you know? But let's debunk that for a second here, because I believe that this creates so much psychological issues to feed into that as a collective, and that even leads a lot of people to sometimes beat their own selves down out for feeling things like anger, resentment, and sadness. So perhaps that anger is difficult for you to express, Pile 1, or perhaps even that your own anger sometimes is what scares you a little bit because of how overwhelming it can feel, because you know what you have the power to do when you are under its control. But the trick is to not allow anger to be at the wheel for you, but to partner your anger. Anger is an extremely powerful emotion, right? I feel that this is why a lot of people fear it. It has the power to destruct many things, and it can also motivate us to do things that otherwise we wouldn't have had the courage to do sometimes. But anger, it also has the power to trigger much needed action and changes that need to be done sometimes. Just look at all the great changes that healthy anger enabled us to do as a society. Today, women can vote because we had the courage to channel our anger. Today, you can sit in a bus in the United States no matter the color of your skin because people had the courage to channel their anger. Rosa Parks refused to give her seat in the bus to a white man, and she was pissed. She thought enough is enough. And that's a good thing that she was pissed, because look at the progress that it has made. And because we have all seen people mismanage their anger and destruct with their anger once in a while, doesn't mean that anger is a destructive emotion unto itself. In fact, I know for a goddamn fact that anger can give us sometimes a fuel to do the extremely difficult things that need to be done. That's the thing it can serve as, to give us the strength and the courage to do the difficult things otherwise we wouldn't feel able to do. So anger can be such a wholesome, legitimate, valid, and even well-needed feeling when it is channeled correctly. anger can sometimes be so empowering too. So that's how you put this situation to rest, by getting out of your chest and out of your system every bit of that anger that you could still be holding on to, that you could have still been holding on to for so long, and that you need to free yourself from once and for all. To, scream at the universe and to curse it out if you need to. I know that for me, when I have done it before, when I fell on my knees and started cursing the shit out of the universe, it felt so freeing and so healing. See, I didn't really think it. That's the thing. And I knew that it was the anger saying all of that through me, but it felt so liberating because for so long, people had tried to tell me how to manage my own anger. And while we don't want to hurt ourselves and others with our own anger, we have a divine right to express it nonetheless. And if it's by cussing, screaming, crying, writing it out, speaking it out loud, so be it. That's how we purge it and free ourselves from it. It's by owning the anger that this situation brought up in you, because it's when we try to reject that anger that it actually starts to create a lot of damage, because that's when we don't want to own it, look at it, or respect it. That anger starts to consume every parts of us. And I know it because I have seen it at play. You will be surprised how much power you truly hold when you understand and decide to embrace this anger power instead of wanting to avoid feeling it. Sometimes the world, it needs love, it needs peace. People need a big hug, and sometimes they need that anger to shake things up. And I'm not talking here about war, missiles, crimes, murder, and violence here. I'm talking about the healthy sort of anger, not what some twisted people decided to do with it sometimes. I'm speaking about anger as the objective purpose it serves us. It's funny because this card of opposition is actually identical to the card of temperance when I think about it. Because temperance speaks of bringing two different bodies of water into harmony together and into this powerful concoction or potion. So you rid yourself of that ghost and heal this past by partnering your anger power, not by working against it, but by working with it. Anger is a door towards healing for you. And I invite you to express it and channel it, perhaps through art, through writing, perhaps through having this safe space and session with yourself where you can simply exteriorize it verbally out loud to yourself, perhaps through music even. I know that for myself, music has surely helped me manage my anger in so many ways. People listen to music for so many different reasons. Sometimes it's to empower themselves. Sometimes it's to process emotions like that and to feel understood. I know that that's one of the reasons why I love so much metal, hardcore, and punk. So I want you to start to see it differently now and to start practicing the expression of those heavier emotions that seem a bit scary to you sometimes, Pawan, because your anger is spiritual. Your anger is holy. Your anger is valid. So I hope that this reading could bring a bit of healing, compassion, and understanding to your fears, Pawan. I want to thank you for spending this time with me and for making me your humble guide during this reading. And a special thank you to your spirit team as well as my spirit team for those messages that they wanted to share with us today. And I hope that you keep in touch and that we will see each other soon again on my channel again. If some of you are interested into checking out my private tarot services, I offer online readings on my store, so the link will be down below in the description box if you are interested. And otherwise, I wish you an amazing rest of your day. Bye guys! Welcome to everybody who has chosen part 2. So this is going to be a reading about your biggest fears in your life right now that need to be addressed. So today we are diving into deep shadow work. It is the perfect season for that. And for those of you who are new here, welcome. I am officially announcing to you that this is spooky season right now on my channel throughout all of the month of October. So there will be more dark readings like that and channeling session to come. So this reading will be divided divided into 3 sections for you guys. I'm going to start with your big oracle cards over there, and that will sort of show me the general energies of your reading, of what those fears may be or incarnate as for you in your life. And then we're going to move on to your tarot cards over here, and I'm going to dive deeper in more details into those fears with you. And finally, I have set some extra oracle cards aside for you as well, and with those we will take a look at how you may confront or resolve these fears in your life. So if you're ready, Pound 2, let's see what your cards are. Not these ones, these ones. I'm so used to starting with tarot cards. So we have here Jamaica Kincaid. I don't know if I said that right. I'm so sorry if I didn't pronounce the name right. But it says as a tag here at the bottom, it says history. Then after that, we have a card of Janet Frame. And the word here on this card is belonging. And I love it because it looks like there are little fairies on top there. Cute. Then the next card that we have for you is a card of protection, and it says, "This is my house, stained by the very blood flowing through its walls, covered in a veil of delicious prayers, yet deadly to those who dare shift its hidden." I really love how poetic these cards are. It always looks like there's an incantation on them. Then the final card that we have is grief, and it says, "It is but a mere glimpse of nothingness, hidden away deep within the chambers of your mourning, and the red clovers birthing lost illusion." All right. It's funny because we were just talking about grief in the last pile. So pile 2, the first thing that I immediately heard with this card of protection somehow is that it seems like your boundaries have slowly transformed into walls over time, kind of like as a protection mechanism with this card of grief. And I feel with this card of history right here that most likely this could have been the result of the past. So it's funny because in pile 1, we had this energy of the past being very present as well. And so if you have been drawn to both pile 1 and pile 2, then that could be an indicator that there is a message in both this pile and the other one for you as well. But it seems like your spirit team is talking to me about you trying to raise better boundaries, pile 2, but then over time, it's like those boundaries, it's like they transform into impenetrable barricades. And normally that does not happen unless someone reached that limit before, unless you have been badly wounded before, either through betrayal or loss with this card of grief, or through someone seriously offending you. Unless someone or some event has hurt your ability to trust and remain open. But that's the big thing here, is that I feel that these walls have been raised so that you would not be able to feel a blow again. But those walls never really brought you a sense of peace. If anything, it started to nourish your fears. Pile 2. And that's because usually defense mechanisms are put in place when we are expecting to be attacked again. And when we have this sort of negative anticipation, that feeds anxiety. Are some of you guys suffering from some form of chronic anxiety? Or maybe that some of you have panic attacks sometimes? Because I don't know why, but I had this very strong feeling here of like my heart wanting to race in my chest somehow. And I know that sort of fight or flight response very well because when I was in my teenage years, I have dealt with anxiety and depression starting when I was 13 until I was about 21 years old, if I remember. But let's talk about that for a second, all right? Because anxiety is not necessarily an enemy. Experiencing occasional anxiety is a normal part of life. right? It's nothing that we can really avoid. Animals have it, and for some of them, it enables them to flee and not be a prey in the wild. And for others, that anxiety enables them to hunt their prey and have something to eat by the end of the day. So anxiety is a very smart survival strategy that our bodies are equipped with, but it becomes a problem when our bodies are having that survival response frequently and excessively. When it has become repeated episodes of it in the things that belong to the normal day-to-day living, when it comes to that point, that hurts our ability to live a normal life and to go about a normal day with our daily tasks and responsibilities. That's when anxiety actually becomes a real problem, when it's getting in the way of our daily living. So anxiety, when experienced for an extended amount of time, can easily become fear and transform into avoidance. So I haven't talked about this kind of belonging very much yet, and I want to flip your tarot cards before I do, because I want to see how this ties in with your message, because I feel some strong vibration from this card in particular, and I want to make sure that I'm accurate here. But let's see what your tarot cards will say now. So we have here the Wheel of Fortune reversed. This Wheel of Fortune gives me vibes of excessive worries. Then we have here, look at that, the Queen of Cups reversed. Then we have here the Fool. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense here, especially with this Queen of Cups reversed right at the center of your reading, because the Queen of Cups is normally someone that is so deeply in touch with how she feels all the time. She literally sits on the throne of her sensitivity 24/7, you guys. But then when she comes out reverse, normally that's a sign that she has fallen out in touch with her emotions as being a power for her. She now sees her emotions as being her weakness, and that's either because she's too zoomed in into them or because she has gone completely zoomed out of them. So that makes a lot of sense why I saw those sorts of boundaries transforming into a dense wall for you, Pal 2, because I'm seeing here that it's your heart and vulnerable side here that you're trying to protect most of the time. It's the part of you that is more sensitive and that can be more fragile that you're trying to barricade in. So most likely that's because someone breached a fine line with you, or a point of no return where you have the impression that maybe they have played with your feelings, that they have disregarded your feelings, maybe that they have broke your heart even. And it might not just be a particular individual that makes you feel this way. Perhaps that people in general make you feel like it's difficult to fully open up to them. The idea of allowing someone else to completely bear your heart open feel like something scary to you guys, most likely. So one thing that strikes me here strongly is that I'm seeing the link in between this Fool card and the card of belonging very much, because the Fool is normally an extremely misunderstood character in tarot, and I have always personally associated him with the outcasted and the marginalized, because that's literally how people tend to judge him or view him, from an outside eye sometimes. And when we just think about the tales that we were told with the village fools, right? But that's the thing, the Fool, he is outcasted very often because he is very much outside of this idea of following the social norms. He is a bit clueless about them. And that's his innocent side, basically, because of how open and curious he is towards the outside world. Because the Fool represents the inner child, right? It is a card named 0 in tarot for a reason. It represents birth. So it's not that he's not smart enough. He is necessarily too naive for the world, but it's just that he operates on extremely different social parameters than everybody else. We could even say that his genius most of the time is very misunderstood. Just kind of like when we say that the truth comes out of the mouth of children, right? So the fool doesn't see value in the same things that most people do. If someone exchanges a $10 bill against a penny, for example, you will probably think that he is a fool, right? Either this guy is a fool, or either there is some mad genius behind what he's doing right now that nobody else has yet understood. So with this card of belonging on top, I am sensing that you guys could have been searching for a place to belong to for the longest time now, to feel understood, welcome, and accepted for exactly who you are. But that's the thing. The fool wants to be loved and appreciated too. And I bet that you guys are silently wishing for that as well. But then because of this wall, because of those boundaries that you have placed around your heart that are a bit too thick, that's like no one is able to reach you, pal, too, if you want me to be honest. So on the original image of the Queen of Cups, she is holding a closed chalice, and that's because she carefully chooses who will get to access the content from that cup and drink from that cup. So reversed, that's like she's saying that no one will be able to get in there ever again. Harsh sentence that she is placing on others, but especially on herself, because normally that's in her nature to connect emotionally. That's in the nature of the Queen of Cups. So that's the thing, pal, too. By keeping everybody out, you're doing yourself a disservice because you're blocking your ability to connect with anyone, which is your divine right and greatest gift. And maybe that lately you have felt as though it was a bit more difficult for you to bond with friends, maybe that you have outgrown certain relationships in your life even. And that could feel scary to some of you guys because suddenly it's like you feel all alone, no matter how well surrounded you could be or not. So part of you with this fool wish that you could go back to that innocent phase where you were pretty much unfazed by what you witnessed in others and what was going on socially in your life, where you were open to experience love, attachment, passion for the first time. To take that huge leap of faith into the unknown and give everyone the benefits of the doubt. But this Queen of Cups is reversed here. And that's giving me this impression of having lost that innocence in a very painful way along the journey. In a very, very painful way. So you try to trust like the fool that is about to jump from the cliff that you would fly, right? But what happened instead is that you fell and have gotten badly wounded. So your reaction to that was something along the lines of never again. Never again will I be this naive or taken advantage of. Never again will I take such a strong risk with the Wheel of Fortune reversed. So that's like a cycle that birthed out of that fear, pal, too. That fear of falling again and of completely losing control over your feelings again. And I bet that some of you are very, very uncomfortable with that idea. This idea of not being in charge or in control of your impulses and emotions. Probably because you have drowned in them before. So you guys seem scared that getting yourself exposed and vulnerable again will make you seem like the fool all over again. That if you open your heart and show your sensitivity, that you will have to go through that same type of humiliation, shame, or fall from grace again. But that's the thing, the Wheel of Fortune is reversed here, and it has to say that the cycle of that can only return if you keep your distance from others, if you leave the seat vacant from the most sacred throne of the universe, pal, too. Your own heart space. And don't beat yourself up for that, because we all leave it from time to time. Hell, that reading makes me think of myself a little bit, because there are so many moments I have told myself that exact same thing. Never again. Never again will I give others the privilege to have access to the deepest layers of my heart. And that's because I had done it before, and I felt like the fool so much that I started to completely retract on myself. And then all of the next relationships became this functional for me because people would reproach me of that distance. I always kept in between them and I. So that's the cycle that I was talking about. If there is a disconnection from your heart, Paltu, then of course all that you're going to feel that you keep attracting is people that are very much disconnected from you. If what you seek is peace in your relationship, then anxiety is the complete opposite of that frequency. Fear and peace, they don't work on the same grounds. Walls and taking your distances, that comes from fear. So if all you want is to feel understood, validated, accepted, loved, safe, make sure that the boundaries that you're placing is not blocking you from giving other people a fair chance, from loving unconditionally and freely again, and that you're not blocking everybody from being able to access your truest feelings, your vulnerability, and from knowing the real deepest you. Because vulnerability, it has to go both ways. How is anyone supposed to get in there if you don't send the guard dogs on their way, right? So people are sensitive to that too, Paltu, and they can sense that. They can sense when someone else is on the defensive mode. So maybe not all that you have been craving is to find a soul tribe of your own, people that won't make you feel so alone, alienated, or awkward, to find a place to belong to. You could feel like what you keep attracting with this Wheel of Fortune reverse is the wrong type of people and experiences, Paltu, because you have noticed that this is all you seem to attract, is people that don't make you feel comfortable or valid enough to fully open up to them unapologetically. It feels like you have lost your want for inclusion now with this Fool, where maybe all that you want is to get lost in your own world, away from that kind of drama, because there, when you are by your own, it's like you matter again. But that's too painful of a belief though. That's too painful because it keeps nourishing this pattern of you not being able to live that same feeling with someone else or amongst other people, Paltu. And that's not true. That's a fabrication that came from your heart that is aching. But let's see now how you may better equip yourself to confront this fear and heal it. So we have here the card of message. Then we have, look at that, we have a card of union. So that's pretty much what we were saying. And then of course, well, the card of friendship. I'm so done, you guys. I'm so done with you. I'm joking with you, Paltu. But that's literally everything that we have been talking about. So some of you could be experiencing maybe regular social anxiety with this card of union and friendship. Maybe that this anxiety is lived for you with people in general and strangers, so not only in your intimate life. You could be anxious about social situations, activities, events. If so, then for sure, reaching for help from a professional will definitely be the greatest way to remove and rid yourself of that fear. That fear of being awkward, embarrassed, of feeling inappropriate or inadequate, the fear of getting judged, rejected, humiliated. That belongs to the umbrella of social anxiety, you guys. And that's funny because I was telling you about my own experience with anxiety earlier, and that's what I was going through. It was actually social anxiety. So I know this topic very well, and if this is what a lot of you are experiencing right now, then I definitely encourage you to seek professional help, you guys. If I could rid myself of that disorder, then so you can. Then so you can. But for others of you now, you confront that fear by doing it all over again through exposure therapy, by allowing yourself to connect with someone again, to give them the full permission to hold you, just like you have the tendency to hold your own self, no matter how scary and uncomfortable it makes you feel. By accepting to rely on someone else and not just on yourself. See, that's the thing. We love to perpetuate in the spiritual community this idea that self-love and independence is so damn extremely important. And yes, of course, those things are very important. But so is our ability to experience clanship, companionship, teamwork, support, and our essential need to relate. Those things are just as important and essential because history has shown that humans thrive better when we live in a group and work in a group effort. Humans, we don't do so well on our own. We are beings that need that feeling of belonging, not just for our survival in the wild, but also for our overall happiness. We need it to thrive. So don't get me wrong, I feel that we can be happy on our own, but I don't think that we can thrive all by ourselves. Yes, we need our time alone, but we also need fellowship and we also need solidarity. And the best example that I have to back this up for you guys is that I don't know if some of you have heard about those studies that they have made about happiness and health with the elderly. So I was reading last time that research that they have made on thousands of new retirees, recording their health and mental state declination over the years after their retiring process. And so what they found out is that once you retire, most people who don't get involved in some form of like side work, hobbies, or charity service, they lose a lot more rapidly their health and mental well-being than the rest of the group, the other retirees that would have these bunch of sidelines to keep them going and to keep them motivated. And that's because researchers have found that humans have an essential need for feeling like we belong to a community. It's a human need to feel important, needed for clan members, and to feel like her role can be significant to the grander scheme, to the well-being of her community. So no matter how much we could be happy and well living on our own, we all need others once in a while. By the end of the day, you're going to have to go to the grocery store to feed yourself and have to depend on someone who has grown and made that food for you. Or you're still gonna have to go to the doctor eventually if you're in pain and have to depend on someone else's expertise or knowledge to know what's going on with you. So my point is, we all need each other once in a while. And you feeling like you need people to be around sometimes, or you're feeling like you want to belong, that doesn't make you the result of being weaker than other people, pal, too. That makes you the result of being a human being. So that's not your ego here. That's your basic human needs speaking. So some of you have been fearing the idea of ending up all on your own. And that's a fear that I want to reassure you so many of us experience, especially with that huge wave of disconnection that is getting bigger and bigger as the world becomes more and more competitive, as the world becomes more to each their own, and as our world gets more and more online, which is ironic when you think about it, because the goal of bringing all of that new technology in was actually to bring us closer. And it definitely can sometimes bring us closer. Like, don't get me wrong, internet allows us to keep contact with our loved ones, no matter if we are on the other side of the planet or not. But for a lot of people, though, internet is also what makes them feel very alone, no matter how many friends and likes that they have. And how sad is that when you think about it? You know, I feel that a lot of people have trouble connecting and finding a real sense of belonging because sometimes things like that, the fear of ending up alone, the fear of being unliked, insignificant, criticized, rejected, those fears are huge motivations to make us want to erase our own self behind a facade, behind a screen, another persona, or behind the online trends that the popular mass is following. And the results of that is that we feel more and more disconnected from who we are, and therefore from our heart, and therefore from each other. But nobody can relate to a perfect thing. Nobody can relate with someone that is perfect, that looks perfect, that lives the perfect lifestyle. Humans, we connect with what resembles us, which is pretty much imperfect most of the time. So yes, those personas that we can see online, they get a lot of likes and follows, but that's because people enjoy dreaming of being someone else sometimes, and some of them also enjoy the drama part of it. Let me just tell you, a lot of people on social medias are paid to feed into this perfect idea too. So a lot of people are faking it out there, and I know how hard it can feel for those people like you, Pantu, that feel very bad crossing your own integrity to fake it. That's why sometimes you feel that you can't belong. It's because those things aren't natural for you, and you're aware of that. You're over that. So you have outgrown that stage of wanting to be part of the trend already. Now you just want to be happy for real. Not pretend that you are, but that's like this big conflicting energy that you're living right now of, I so desperately want to know that I'm not alone who feels like that out there. I just want to be able to connect with someone real, but I don't feel like I belong or fit in there. So with this card of the message, I don't know why, but I'm just getting this sensation that some of you guys may feel familiar with those moments where all that you want to do is put your phone on voicemail, not want to answer it, or leave as far away as you can with that full. From that vibe of people relying on technology to do all of the work of connection for them. But you guys were never built or created to be on your own. Why it is more difficult for you to connect to something real is because you guys don't fit in with the popular demand. And that's okay, because we are more like that, who are suffering in silence than maybe you are realizing, Paltu. We are an army of people feeling like that. And as each and every one of us rise to break the silence of that, it makes it easier for that other one who profoundly felt misunderstood to rise too. So if you have been feeling this way, then that's because that's part of your message here with this card of the message. And because you are the fool who sees value, beauty, and potential elsewhere, and the things of life that are authentic, real, and inspirational. It's like you guys have been trying to include yourself amongst others, amongst the world, and every time that you do so, perhaps that you feel that you're always met with the same disappointments all over again, with this Wheel of Fortune reverse, where it's just something falls through and ends up working against you somehow. So those combinations of events really build up into this belief that you guys can't fit in and won't be able to fit in. But that's not true. You just can't fit in with anything inauthentic to your soul, that's all. And I hope that you don't view that as the culprit of your life and that you come to see it as a power, because actually that is your greatest blessing, to be aware of that, Paltu. That's your biggest quality. And I swear that there are those people out there who are desperately seeking that, just like you. So you guys are not weird, you guys are not awkward, you guys just don't fit in with anything superficial as all. And that fear of ending up all alone with only yourself to be able to rely on, it comes from trying in the past to mold into the things that are not meant for you, Paltu. And to force yourself to connect to things you simply could not resonate with this Queen of Cups reverse. That's the only real issue that I see here. You are not the issue. The things that you are forcefully trying to adhere with or subscribe to that aren't aligned with your heart are. So you resolve that fear by coming back to the seat of your heart again, and by allowing yourself to connect with the people and things that speak to your spirit and essence again. By allowing the experiences of the past to crack you open to the truth that the hardest challenge of life is to keep your heart open when you most want to close it down. So I hope that this reading could bring a bit of healing, compassion, and understanding to your fears part too. I want to thank you for spending this time with me and for making me your humble guide during this reading. And a special thank you to your spirit team and my spirit team for those messages that they wanted to share with us today. And I hope that you keep in touch, and that we will see each other soon on my channel again. So if some of you are interested into checking out my private tarot services as well, I offer online tarot readings on my store, and the link will be down below in the description box if some of you are interested. And otherwise, I wish you an amazing rest of your day, you guys. Bye bye. Welcome, pile 3. If you have chosen this pile, this is going to be your reading about your biggest fears in your life that need to be addressed right now. So today we're diving into deep shadow work because it is the perfect season for that. And for those of you who are new here, welcome. I'm officially announcing you that this is spooky season on my channel throughout all of the month of October. If you come across this video by the time that I post it, but otherwise don't worry, this is a timeless reading. But it's just to tell you that if you're watching this by the time that it comes out, there will be more dark readings and channeling sessions like that to come throughout the month of October on my channel. So this reading will be divided into 3 different sections for you guys. I'm going to start over there with your bigger oracle cards, and that will sort of show me the general energies, if you want, of what those fears may be or incarnate as in your life for you. And then after that, I'm going to move on here to your tarot cards, and we're going to dive into more details about that. And finally, I have also a few oracle cards that I have set aside for you for the very end. And with them, we are going to take a look at how you may confront and resolve those fears. So if you're ready, let's take a look at the cards that you've received. We have here for you Charlotte Perkins Gilman. And the word on the card here says freedom. And the next card that we have is wall. After that, the next card, we have Candle Magic, and it says, speak your breath into its veil. Recite along its spine all that you desire, all that which will unravel. Okay, interesting. And the final card that we have is the veil. And this card says, it's quite possible your eyes have become the fog in which you dwell. A half-swallowed glimpse of all that you truly are or can be, that the tears you bleed are ready for the storms to turn the skies inward. That's beautiful. Beautifully said, I mean. Okay, so already, I know that this will sound a bit weird, but I don't know if some of you are claustrophobic, if sometimes you have dreams where you are being trapped in tight spaces, or if you fear having your motricity removed or restricted in a way. I feel with those cards as though I am suffocating or trapped, kind of like the smoke of that fire in Candle Magic, right? It's like I can't properly breathe here. I need some space. So those cards are the freedom and the wall. They make me think of being trapped, of being stuck somewhere I really don't want to be at, or of being locked down in prison almost. Those walls, they really make me think of a prison. And I don't know if maybe that's because I spent the week playing a cooperative game with my partner called A Way Out. But basically, if you don't know what that game is, it's a game that follows the story of 2 inmates trying to help each other break out of prison. And I don't know why, but this kind of freedom and a wall, they sort of made me think of that. So they made me think of you being in this sort of tight cell, looking at the window and dreaming of a new life where you can be free and roam however you see fit. So this could be why this card of the veil is there too. It's like there is this veil that you guys have been able to pierce through, and you are seeing beyond it another reality of what could be, or of what you could become. So that's interesting. Of course, you're not obliged to resonate with that fear that I was talking about of claustrophobia or being kept somewhere against your will, but that's just the image that I see this underlying fear could sometimes take form as, for some of you sometimes. It seems to me like that loss of autonomy and loss of freedom, feeling suffocated or kept attached to something could be one of your greatest fear. For most of you who have chosen this path, probably there is also something here that sort of resonated deep within me. With this quote, it's quite possible you have become the fog in which you dwell. That makes me think that it might be your mind or your perspective sometimes that creates this imaginary prison around your path 3, that places those imaginary limits and walls around you of what you can and cannot do, of who you can and cannot be. The power of belief is extremely strong, right? And we fall into its trap once in a while, each and every one of us. So I don't know if you guys saw that video one day that went viral on the internet, where the video was like this ant on the wall, and somebody was tracing around it a circle with a Sharpie, and the ant started wobbling trying to find the exit, but meanwhile there was no box or real wall really keeping this ant trapped in. It's only a line that someone traced with a marker. So for you guys, I feel that sometimes your own mind, your own smart is working against you sometimes. And what I mean by this is that your intellect can be both your greatest asset sometimes, but then other times it can become your own jail in a sense, where it starts locking you away from possibilities or from the opportunities that are meant for you. So your mind is often the one conjuring up those scenarios where you can't have what you want or be who you want to be. But let's see what your tarot cards will have to say about what this greatest fear could be. So we have here the Knight of Cups. Then we have here the Ten of Cups reversed. And then we have the Nine of Pentacles also reversed. Okay. So that's very strange. The Nine of Pentacles has been really coming back in pretty much every reading that I've done on YouTube so far. Okay, path 3, I hope that you're ready for this because I really see here that your greatest fear is also actually the thing that you want the most. With the Ten of Cups reversed, with the Nine of Pentacles reversed. What you fear is also what you deeply wish for. I feel that what you fear is this very, very big dream or goal that you have. It's perhaps the thought of you not being able to reach it, realize it, or it's the thought maybe of having it and then maybe realizing that even that isn't enough or as beautiful as you had imagined. I feel that my people who have chosen path 3 in general always had these very, very big goals in mind and dreams for yourself that you have always been wishing to realize. And I feel that one of your greatest fear could be to wake up from that cloud one day and realizing that those things aren't possible for you, or they aren't as accessible to you as you maybe thought they were. That those things are just impossible fantasies that you will never be able to attain or that you don't deserve. Path 3, let me ask you a question here. When was the last time that someone really encouraged you to pursue your wildest and craziest dreams? When was the last time that somebody told you, yes, I see that this is that this could be possible for you, or you can accomplish whatever you set your heart into, and you can be whoever you want to be. Matter as a fact, I see you in your life being kind of surrounded by people who have let the walls, the obstacles, the tribulations tell them what they could and could not achieve, who they could and could not become. And those people, they sort of became the products of their own environment, right? And they stemmed certain fears in you and in your thoughts that somehow you don't have what it takes to be able to fulfill those dreams. And just to be honest, this may come from jealousy, saying that you still have the ability to dream that is almost intact. Pile 3. I feel that most people who have chosen this pile, you already know what this is. And maybe you're just nervous that I confirm it somehow, because I feel that a lot of you know already what you are supposed to be doing right now. A lot of you have a dream in mind, or a big vision of the future with this 10 of Cups. And most likely you're afraid of what is on the other side of it. The need to keep up with it, the need to be up for it, and to have what it takes to sort of make it successful, if you will. So some of you may have always known that there was this bigger plan in store for you, and you don't know how, because you can't really figure out how just yet, nor see exactly how it's supposed to be planned out for you, but you can sense it and you can feel it. Maybe that you have this dream of starting a YouTube channel, but you are afraid of what is going to happen if you put yourself out there. Maybe that you have always dreamed of starting your own family, but that you wonder if that's even something that is in store for you. Maybe that you have always wanted to start your very own business with this Nine of Pentacles, but that you fear the failure of it. Maybe that all that you have ever wanted was to be able to live by this dream, to create your own music, to write your own book, to sing your own song, but that you are paralyzed by the thought of your talent or capability not being good enough, of having this work being very much imperfect, dissatisfactory, substandard even, to see that it is less than everything that you admire others are able to do and have. So no matter what this is, pile 3, I see that your greatest fear is seeing this thing that you so dearly and desperately want so bad crash right before your eyes. It's coming to the painful conclusion that this thing was perhaps never meant for you after all, of having this thing that you have always wanted break, of having it stolen from you or not even meant for you. Therefore, you will almost rather prefer to keep your own self from having it and from giving this a chance than to give it all you've got, only to see that even your all wasn't enough, that this was never meant to go anywhere for you. Scary, scary thoughts. And I know it because I've been there before. If you want me to be honest with you, that's exactly how I felt before I started on this YouTube channel and with my online tarot business. When I started, I felt paralyzed because I wanted this so badly to be able to work out for me. So the fear in me of feeling like an imposter, the fear of not being perfect and at what I love the most, it kept me from embracing this calling for about maybe a year and a half before I started doing it. Until the haunting of not knowing and of not doing it became so strong that I simply could not ignore it anymore. So I had to give it a try. I had to face it. I had to put myself out there and follow the calling, even if that was going to be very clumsy or very awkward at the beginning. And I was telling myself, well, there are already so many great readers on YouTube and out there on the internet. So who am I to come in and say that I have a place in there as well, you know? How dare I, being this arrogant, and believe that I have some value to provide that cannot be found out there. I had to do a lot of reverse psychology with myself for sure. But I feel that in the same way, you guys have watched people that are a lot less passionate in this thing than you. Have this very thing that you have always wanted. And some of you have been scared to death that it would pass you by. You want something so badly, Pile 3, but a fear of not being able to have it or keep it is almost turning this wish, this dream or want that you have into this entity that is tormenting you and disturbing your capacity to feel empowered by it or excited about this thing. It's as if this dream is also an extremely sensitive spot that nobody can touch because it's like an open wound for you that you don't allow yourself to tend to. You think that for now, avoiding it, even if that means that you suffer for it, is still a lot less painful than the potential disappointment of trying to get it. You fear the heartbreak that it's going to cause if you realize that others can have it, but then not you. Pile 3, it seems like this fear is exactly there because it wants to be confronted by you. It wants to be questioned and debunked by you with this Knight of Cups. It wants to be pursued by you and for you to go for it with your entire heart and soul and to risk it all by putting all of these things on the line until you realize that the result of that was you ending up doing it no matter the odds and finding any means possible to have a taste of it. Because knights are doers, right? They are achievers. They are realizers. They don't stop until they have carried through their mission until the end. So this Knight of Cups is there because you have been holding a goal. You have been holding a cup that you have taken to heart extremely seriously because that is important for you. You know that this goal will create some form of a difference somewhere. Well, then go for it. Go for it because the desire of it won't subside. The thirst of not knowing will never get quenched if you just sit there and dream on it. This dream is not a fantasy, it's a goal that has chosen you. And it is waiting for you to choose it back and to commit to it in return, heart and soul. And I know that this feels scary, I know, but if people with a lot less heart than you, a lot less passion and emotions around it than you could be able to manage a way to do it, then why not you, Pile 3? You already have the desire, you already vibrate on that same frequency. What can stand in the way of that? Absolutely nothing. Not even those walls that you have placed there are thick enough for you to be able to see and pass through. Those walls, they are but a veil, Pile 3. And once you remove it, you're going to see things a lot more clearly. I believe that it's Nelson Mandela that said one day, it always seems impossible until it's done, until someone is born to do it. So some of you have been wishing this thing to happen or come through for so long that you can almost sense it or feel it into your life and it's not even there yet. That's faith calling. That's the thing. Some of you have been afraid of following your heart with this Knight of Cups. And that's because you know that what is on the other side of that will make you bigger. It will make you more independent with this Knight of Pentacles. It will make you feel more fulfilled with this Ten of Cups. It will make you become more. Somewhere along the journey, it might just bring you back into contact with the amazing things about yourself and the things that you are absolutely capable of doing. And even if that sounds amazing, sometimes it can be scary AF because as long as we haven't been there before, as long as we haven't been there, done that, we can't really believe that these things can actually even happen to someone like us sometimes. One advice that I have for you, Pile 3, is to not wait for the fear to go away before engaging in what you feel that you need to do, to answer your heart's calling. That fear is actually there and it is your companion, as strange as it might sound. You know, sometimes your fear, it feels like a 15 feet tall brick wall that seems insurmountable in the middle of the road. And our first reflex to that might be to wait for that fear to go out of the way and crumble down before we keep walking in that direction. But that fear, it's there because you know that what you're about to do is something significant. What lies on the other side of that wall is something important to your heart. It's going to create some form of a difference, no matter if it's a difference in other people's life or in your own life. So that wall is there for a reason, and that fear is actually part of the project, believe it or not. So don't wait for it to disappear. Fear is part of the project. It's part of the meeting. And if you want me to be honest, it's even what makes it all so worth it by the end of the day. So thrilling and meaningful by the end of the day. The journey that making my videos takes me on feel even more exciting than the result of them most of the time. So my point is, fear is an essential part of our biggest, wildest dreams. And maybe you think that it shouldn't be there, but it is meant to be there. If anything, it breathes life into what you're about to do. So embrace that, pile 3. Welcome in the fear. And I know that it sounds easier said than done, but you will feel so relieved to see that this fear was actually being of service to you more than anything else. Because that fear is supposed to be the fuel that is going to jumpstart your project, goal, dream, or wish to come alive. So let's see now how you can face that fear and lesser it or work on even resolving it. We have here Sol. So that's the sun, basically. After that, we have the card of apathy. And then finally, we have listen. Yeah, listen to me, pile 3. I'm joking. So what you need the most right now, pile 3, is to believe in what you want a little more. Because it almost feels like a lot of you could be thinking right now that you're not allowed to want the things that you want. A lot of you could be thinking that there is this ceiling to the heights that you want to reach, that there is this wall to how far you can really go. I feel that confronting this fear starts with taking a look at what you are subscribing to, pile 3, with being really careful who you give your ear to, who or what you decide to listen to. I don't know why, but with this card of apathy, I feel as though this was to confirm what I had been saying earlier about you being kind of surrounded by people who maybe lack optimism or lack empathy towards you and your dreams. They lack sensitivity or understanding about how much you take this to heart and how much that is important for you. People that lack the understanding that anything will always look impossible until someone does it. So I feel that you need to surround yourself with more optimism and motivational support, especially in the things that you consume and decide to listen to, whether that is the podcasts, the videos, the music that you listen to, the loved ones, your friends and family members that you seek advice from. Make sure that they are as unbiased as they can be in the way that they are lending you advice, because everybody is a bit biased sometimes in their own opinions, right? When people are talking from experience rather than facts, then that's when it can become dangerous sometimes, and you don't need any of that right now, pile 3. The last thing that you guys need is someone that will come and jeopardize the little bit of faith that you're trying to hold on right now, that you're trying to protect. So there is a huge difference in between hearing someone and actually deciding to listen to what they are saying. So when you listen to something, your mind absorbs that information and either it subscribes to it or it completely rejects it. Try to pay attention to who and what your ears, your eyes, your emotions are open to maybe build a wall yourself. If you're, ooh, that's one of my hair right there, sorry. To maybe build some of that wall around you, to maybe try to keep yourself protected from those people. Try to make sure that this is really something that your heart can resonate with the Knight of Cups and the Ten of Cups as well. Is that content actually filling your heart with joy? Is it actually nourishing you towards action? Or is it deactivating you? Is it uplifting or is it actually intimidating you? And it might sound easy for me to say that, but actually I've come to learn on my own journey that there is actually a fine line in between those things, in between motivation and intimidation, that once we cross that line, it's difficult to unwind. What we decide to listen to is our own programming. That's all this is. So the Instagram feed that you watch every day will be your programming. The YouTube video that you decide to watch too. Even with me, be careful about me. Be careful about anybody, you know. Right now, your spirit team wants you to make sure that you decide and you are in control of what you want to program your mind, body, and spirit with. To practice this more consciously, Pile 3, because a lot of your fears could be nourished sometimes by what you hear out there is possible and impossible to do in the outside world and the environment around you. So you guys also want you to be able to bring yourself into that space where all that you can feel is empathy for your dreams, for yourself and for your desires, where you can understand that it's not wrong for you to want what you want and dream what you want to dream, that wants and dreams aren't toxic or something to rid yourself from. I know that there is a lot of that speech sometimes in the spiritual community, sometimes out there, where it's like people think that they need to rid themselves from wants completely, and only then will they be free enough or enlightened enough. But we have to understand that our desires have the right to be, and they are not evil. Our desires can also be high vibration. They can be what motivates us to wake up in the morning and carry on. It can be what makes us want to keep going. If what you want isn't hurting anybody, then how the hell can it be a bad thing? If what you want is actually for the greater good for yourself, then it is for the greater good of humanity. Then what can really stop you from that? The answer is nothing. Because all that your spirit team wants for you is for you to want your dreams. Pile 3 actually. And your fears that stand in the way of that, they are programmed by the things that you have watched or listened to. Because those things, they are on conditionings, you guys. They are our conditionings. But the good news is, if we can be programmed to fear, then that means that we can also be programmed to be courageous, to be motivated, and to love. So that's why I feel that this message is so strong right now. I feel that most of you guys, it's your conditioning. It's your education or it's your upbringing that has nourished those fears in you to come alive. So most likely, these fears don't even come from you to begin with. They are maybe the voice of your parents when you were 18 and decided to go this thing that you really wanted to do. They are maybe the voice of your teacher, your friend, who you share your life with, who had their own dreams broken because they abstained from believing in them. So be careful who you listen to, Pile 3. Be careful who you listen to. That is essential right now. You resolve that fear by making sure that you are reconditioning your mind in the opposite way, because that's your responsibility now that you are in charge. Like I have said to another pal, awareness is the biggest weapon against ignorance, and that type of fear of the unknown is ignorance. It is biased. So you guys need to give your ear to things that can bring you back into the sunlight again, basically, with this card of the sun. Because I feel that you have been in the shade for too long now, and that's why this card of the sun is here. Sunlight is vital for just about every living thing. And sometimes what we need more of is a little bit of shade, but sometimes what we need more of is a bit more sunlight. So that's what you need right now, Pile 3, to really apply more realism when you feel that you need that, and to apply more optimism when you actually feel that you are in lack of that. But that's basically all that I'm seeing here for you, my Pile 3. So I hope that this reading could bring a bit of healing, compassion, and understanding to your fears. I want to thank you for spending this time with me and for making me your humble guide during this reading. A special thank you to your spirit team and for my spirit team for those messages that they wanted to share with us today. And I hope that you keep in touch, and that we will see each other soon on my channel again. If some of you are interested into checking out my private tarot services, I offer online readings on my store, so the link will be down below in the description box if some of you are interested. And otherwise, I wish you an amazing rest of your day, you guys. Bye bye! Welcome, pile 4. If you have chosen this pile, this is going to be your reading about your biggest fears in your life that need to be addressed right now. So today you will have guessed it, we are diving into deep shadow work. It is a perfect season for that. And for those who are new here, welcome. I am officially announcing to you that this is spooky season right now on my channel throughout all of the month of October. So there will be more dark readings and channeling sessions to come. But this reading is timeless though. But I am saying that if you actually come across it by the time that I post it. So I decided to divide this reading into 3 different sections for you guys. I'm going to start over there with your bigger oracle cards first, and that will sort of show me the general energies of what those fears may be or incarnate as for you in your life. And then after that, I'm going to move on here to your tarot cards, where I'm going to dive into further details about that with you. And then finally have set as well some extra oracle cards on the side for you. And with those, we will take a look at how you may confront and resolve those fears. So if you are ready, pile 4, let's start with your first cards and see what you've got. The first card that we have for you is Toni Morrison. And the word tag on this card is power. Then, ooh, this one wanted to fly off. The second card that we have for you is a card of knife. Interesting, okay. Then the next card that we have is a wolf. And it says on it, devour the ferocious calling within the howling of your spirit. Run wildly into the freedom of your knowing. Okay, so there is something that you guys know. Perhaps that this is what you're scared about. And we have here the card of spider. And it says, what a wild web we weave, dear child, a delicious mystery untamed. Okay. So already, pile 4, I guess that I'm picking this up because of this card here of the spider, but maybe that you have some form of arachnophobia, maybe that some of you have it, maybe that you have a fear of spiders or bugs even, maybe even snakes, anything that sort of lurks and crawls. Another thing that is coming through to me here is that maybe that some of you also have a fear of sharp objects, like knives, maybe needles even. And sometimes, I know that for myself, for example, I do have arachnophobia, by the way, you guys. And I am in a very good position to speak for those of you who have these sorts of phobias, because let's just be real about it for a second. When I'm facing my phobia personally, I know that the spider won't kill me, all right? And that is I know that this is an innocent creature that deserves living, just like anything else, right? So obviously I know that she is probably a lot more scared from me than I am for her. But that's the thing for when it comes to phobias like this, it's that it's pretty much outside of her control and logic too. I know that for a fact. Even if phobias can surely be worked at and lessened through things maybe like therapy, I know that this is another stage of fear. A phobia is a fear taken to the next level, where your body responds and is in control of the mind almost. So it's almost a trauma when I think about it, because it's basically a reaction of the body and nervous system that is overwhelming. It's almost impossible to control. And note here that I use the word almost impossible, but it's not impossible, of course. So I guess that a theme here of phobias that is coming through your cards spontaneously to me, it's sort of giving me an interesting direction to go on. I feel that what you could fear is this sort of lack of control, like when you are forced to do something you really don't want to do or go somewhere that you really want to go at, pile 4. The image that I'm getting right now is someone who you know, those people who fear water. I'm having the image of someone who fears water being threatened by someone with a knife to jump into a pool. So you see what I mean? It's this sort of type of anxiety that I'm feeling here. It's the fear of being completely overpowered. Exactly like this card of power. That is giving me this sort of Seven of Wands vibe here. Like the fear of being powerless, of having no choice on or no say on what is happening, of having to stand alone and defend yourself. It's also the fear of having your own fate in the hands of something else, like a beast, maybe with a scar of the wolf, or someone that is armed with a knife, and you having to defend yourself, knowing very well that there is just no chance whatsoever that you're going to win this. So I feel that for a lot of you, your greatest fear is kind of really connected to your body and nervous system somehow. Like it's not only a brain response anymore, it's a body response as well that accompanies that, where it's just you lose all your means. So it's like this fear, once it gets triggered in you, it's like the rug is pulled right from underneath your feet and a fight or flight response is instantly triggered. So this fear, no matter what this is extremely primal as I see it here. I think that I want to stop there because for now, because I really want to see what your tarot cards will say, what they will be saying more about this. So let's see what other cards that you've got. So we have here for you the King of Swords reversed. Then we have the Eight of Wands. And then finally we have the Empress. Look at that. Okay, powerful stuff. Powerful stuff. So yeah, definitely powerful. That is stress that I'm feeling here with you and your energy. Your inner Empress is stressed because her land is currently being invaded with this King of Swords reverse and Eight of Wands. So that is the kind of story that I see through your cards right now. Your Empress is being threatened right now. That feels like a fear of your power being removed or suddenly stolen, of having no choice or no say over what is happening around you, having to forfeit things overpowering you, surpassing you, or going above you, beyond you, things that you can't change, people that you can't convince with this King of Swords reverse as well. So that's why I was getting that this was such a primal fear for you. You know, the thing is, I feel that everybody has a fear that has the fear that I am naming right now. Like obviously the majority of people is not a master surrender, like those monks that train to finally set their own selves on fire, you know what I mean? Everybody fears change to some degree. Everybody fears to be overpowered to some degree. But for you, Pal 4, I feel that this fear could be on a whole other level than from a normal anxiety, you know, happening once in a while when life overthrows each and every one of us from time to time. Oh! Okay, I know what this could be about. Wow, this came in like a flash. For some of you guys, that's performance anxiety that you're going through. Like maybe having to put yourself out there, having to represent yourself on your best, maybe even perfectionism. Maybe for some of you, it's stage fright even. And that stems again from that fear that I was talking about having no control on what people are going to say or how they are going to evaluate you, how you're going to be received. So if your message maybe will come across the correct way with a King of Swords being reversed. I'm saying that because both the King of Swords and the Empress are very high in a hierarchy when we speak about that in tarot, like a king that rules over a nation, and like an empress that has many kingdoms to manage. So these are both very high rank figures with a lot of attention constantly drawn on them, a lot of people that constantly depend on them and look up to them. So these are both characters that are regularly asked to speak in front of an audience or to lead the masses. And all of those things are more than enough to put a lot of pressure on somebody. That's why this Eight of Wands is here, I feel. That's like being pushed to perform, to talk, or to execute. So some of you could feel pressurized to act out of character or to be to sort of perform a certain way in your life, it seems, in some area of your life. Or you feel pressure to do something you maybe have never done before as well. Something that you have maybe no knowledge or expertise of with the King of Swords reverse. And it feels like there could be a lot of anticipation about that, because once you give your word, once you give your go, things will go at lightning speed for you, Pile 4, with this Eight of Wands. So that's a fear I'm seeing a lot of you could be dealing with at this time of your life. Things going a lot faster than what you could maybe predict. But you guys could be afraid because you aren't sure if you are ready for this. Heart, mind, and soul with this King of Swords reverse and Eight of Wands. So you guys, I have to tell you about this because this seems to be exactly portraying what I've been exactly going through over the last week. So I have to tell you about this because this is linked to your reading somehow. Okay, so that's funny because while I started preparing for this video about fears, I have gotten this pretty cool offer in my email that I absolutely did not expect to receive at all. And it was basically a very rare opportunity. And for days I was stressing out about this because I wasn't so sure if I would be comfortable trying to experience this for the first time without feeling like I didn't have enough time to prepare, basically. And I had to give this date, I have to give my response by a specific date to this guy, and at the beginning I felt so bad about myself because I felt like I needed to do it, absolutely. That the fear was there because this was maybe all new for me. But at the same time, what I ended up finding out after talking about it with so many people is that yes, you know, sometimes it's a fear that is there because this is something new, but sometimes it's a fear that is there because we aren't sure if we are prepared enough. So, you know, sometimes it's difficult to differentiate what is the voice of our fear from the voice of reason sometimes. And if this is what you're going through right now, Pile 4, if you feel pressurized to do something you aren't sure if you will be able to do it or to do it in a way that will best represent yourself, then the best option is to say no. You know, to respect your limits, because it's okay to have boundaries with what you feel ready and not ready to do. So this might sound obvious and funny to a lot of you, but this was my lesson, this Mercury retrograde. This is a timeless reading, by the way, but at the time that I'm filming this video, we are actually traversing Mercury retrograde. So sometimes we are so afraid that the right opportunities is going to pass us by, right? That we're going to miss out on our moment of personal victory and glory. And therefore we push ourselves to say yes without necessarily considering the risk. But patience is a virtue, Pile 4. And I feel that this is why your Empress energy is here so strongly. He's saying, is that the voice of fear or the voice of reason that you are feeling right now? And I know that this is a reading about fears, but my Pile 4 is always actually my fucked up pal somehow. So what I'm feeling here is that your inner Empress is coming through to say that this doesn't remove any of your capacity, of your capability, of your experience, knowledge, and wisdom. Like, it doesn't remove any of your legitimacy to say no once in a while to certain opportunities and things sometimes with this King of Swords reversed. So you are still just as powerful, just as valid, just as majestic and whole. It doesn't remove anything from you to establish some sort of limits on what you do and what you're ready to do. This limit of no, this is not something I feel comfortable doing. So there is something so freeing in that, in clarifying your limits. And just know that this might just be an opportunity right now to figure this out with yourself that you are being presented with right now. Maybe that this is an opportunity to check in with yourself and look at how you feel. If you feel prepared, comfortable, and like it's going to add joy into your heart to do this thing. Or if it's just to prove a point with this King of Swords reverse at the price of just disturbing your inner peace, potentially creating more anxiety into your life than anything. So the message here is not to avoid. The message here is to choose your own battles, Pile 4. You have let your guards down, it seems a little bit to me. And so that King of Swords took you by surprise with that huge unexpected attack that you weren't really necessarily anticipating. And it threw you off a little. But look at her. Her hair is intact, you know. You don't mess around with an empress. So you guys have been trying to figure out if it was worth it to disturb your inner queen, your inner peace, your inner empress energy, because that inner self-esteem that took you so long to sort of repair or build or nourish within yourself, you kind of start to notice now how fragile it can be. And right now you're trying to hold on to every little bit of that you can, because you don't want to have to go through a moment like that again where you are going to have to pick up the pieces of it all over again. And I get that. Like, I'm so proud of you guys. I'm so proud because right now you are one step closer towards determining what is for you and what is not meant for you by respecting yourself enough to not fall into that pressure, to not give in to that pressure of doing that thing that you aren't sure that you can believe in. So you guys have been wondering if it was worth it, putting your own inner empress serenity, your peace, comfort, or current happiness under stress, or on the line for something that is outside of your, maybe of your comfort zone, but it's also outside of your experience and expertise, most likely, with this King of Swords reverse, because kings are all about self-mastery, right? And for when it comes to the King of Swords, swords in tarot, they represent the intellect, knowledge, and the truth, your peace, comfort, or current happiness under stress, or on the line for something that is outside of your, maybe of your comfort zone, but it's also outside of your experience and expertise, most likely, with this King of Swords reverse, because kings are all about self-mastery, right? And for when it comes to the King of Swords, swords in tarot, they represent the intellect, knowledge, and the truth. So maybe it's that, maybe it's not the capacity that you lack, but it's like you still aren't sure if you have the expertise right now to be able to accomplish this. And you have been wondering if you are ready, basically, if this fear that you are feeling is legitimate. And of course it is. I feel like this is a very intelligent reaction that you have right now, Pile 4. It's normal to feel frightened when we are taken by surprise like that. And when we have to come to a decision or a consensus without knowing for sure with a King of Swords reversed. So I want to tell you the same lesson that I have learned this week, you guys, and that my friends told me as an advice, which is it's okay to not feel ready. Like, it's okay to admit that you aren't sure if you feel completely ready for this. If you are not sure that you will be able to have fun while doing it. If you aren't sure if you are competent enough. If that intimidates you, it's okay sometimes to say no in order to bring opportunities and offers that will be more in alignment with you. Opportunities that you will feel ready to give your 100% yes Pile 4. You know, there is so much wisdom in saying no for now, knowing that you will have the space and preparation to say a full yes to the right things later. And this sounds so obvious as a lesson, but I swear, you guys, I never really have gotten a sense that saying no before to a rare opportunity like that could be a good thing before. You know, I'm a Aries moon, and sometimes this placement has made me so reckless and bold in my own life, let me just tell you. It made me face many fears in my life that some people I feel have not been able to survive, I think. Sometimes I think about it and I'm impressed. I'm like, damn, thank you, Aries moon, because of you, I am courageous enough to face my biggest fears most of the time. But sometimes Aries moon is getting in the way of me setting some clearer boundaries and knowing my limits to what I'm willing to do and what I'm sincerely not. So I have been raised in that energy a lot my whole life, you know. My father used to push me very much in confronting my fears when I was little. When I was a child, him and we would like to pick on each other a lot, back and forth. And he used to always tell me every time that I was hesitating or a little bit scared, he would say, Ellie, come on. That's not you to be scared like that. I know that my daughter is not a pussy. Like, I know you. And he was saying it to tease me, you know. It wasn't done in an aggressive way. But I have to admit that he could be pushy sometimes, you know. And, you know, in a way, I am so thankful for him for doing that with me, because he planted a seed of courage in me that if I wouldn't have been trained to be pushed for battle the way that he did, I wouldn't have accomplished so many wild and crazy victories. I wouldn't have been able to experience my full potential. And today I would probably not be as bold in overcoming my own limits. But then there is a downside to that, because me being raised into that so much also reinforced this belief in me sometimes that I wasn't allowed to have fears. That if I was fearful, then I absolutely needed to face it head on. Full exposure therapy, you know. Or I had to hide it. Sometimes it's good to overcome your own limits, but there are other times where it's also good to know where your limits are. But Pile 4, if there is but the slightest chance that doing that may turn into an eventual trauma for you, then I say it's not worth it. And that comes from my friend Stephanie that said that exact same thing to me this week. So thank you, Steph, if you're watching this video. But yeah, I have just come to understand now that it's okay to really say no, you know. It's okay to say maybe another time when I'm going to be more ready. It's okay to say no. I feel like this is my limit for now. And that doesn't mean that it will always be the case. It doesn't mean that it will be the same limit in the future. It's okay to say, no, I cannot go further for now. Those are not because you're a pussy or because you have no spine, Pile 4. Those realizations don't make you weak. On the contrary, those are your boundaries, and you are in charge of them. And you are much obliged to yourself to listen to that and respect yourself for it like a true empress, no matter if you're a man or a woman. If something is overpowering you right now, if something feels much bigger than what you feel like you can possibly hold right now, that's okay. That's okay, because now you will prepare for this. Did you really think that I was going to tell you to just remain in your comfort zone for real? No, but all jokes aside. If this is something that you really want to do, Pile 4, that you feel would be very important for you to do, but then you feel like this is a little too soon and it's going too fast for you, then that's because this is a perfect time to prepare yourself for it. To arm yourself and equip yourself properly for it. You know, I'm having the image of Michael Myers now in the Halloween movies. It's time to prepare yourself to go after the beast now. Because there is no way that this fear is going to torment you the way that it does right now again in the future. I refuse that for you. You guys will not be afraid of your own power. You guys will not be afraid of claiming your own Empress energy. You guys are going to prepare now. And the next time that you are approached with the same kind of situation, you will not be phased. You will not be taken by surprise. You will know exactly where you stand, what to answer, and what to say. what you feel you're ready and not ready to do with this King of Swords reverse. So let's see now how you may prepare to face this fear in the future, pile 4. How to basically better equip yourself against this sort of stress if it comes back, and prepare for now. So we have here the card of resistance. That's such a powerful image. I really love it. Then after that, we have a card of separation. Then finally, we have a card of revelation. All right. Yeah, so that seems like a choice that you guys are being presented with. I'm saying that because there are two heads here being separated. And then we have two heads here as well that are very intertwined in this card of revelation. And we have some scissors here on this picture, just like we have a knife here. So that's two sharp tools in your reading meant to cut. So there is this clear-cut consensus or decision that you guys need to stand by right now. That makes me think exactly about what I was saying earlier, you know, about how difficult sometimes it can be to learn how to separate the voice of fear and the voice of reason. Because sometimes, depending on the context, the line in between the two can seem very foggy and confusing. So the advice here from your spirit team, you guys, is to make sure that you don't make that clear-cut choice out of a pressure to feel like you need to come out with an answer right now, like you have to prove yourself in anything or to anyone. It feels right now like the priority for you is to protect your own inner empress right now, to protect your integrity, your name, your level of self-confidence, to determine what you feel comfortable and not comfortable in, and to go from there, to have some respect for that, to honor those limits that you have, and to know that it's all right for you to have boundaries. I feel like the moral of the story for all of us guys, no matter by the time that you come across this reading, is that there is a time, place, and context to face our fears. And it's so crazy because I feel like I'm reading for me as well right now. I feel that some of you could be a bit pissed off at yourselves right now because you could be thinking, damn, if I didn't have this fear or didn't have that doubt standing in the way right now, that will be such an easy win for me. I would want to actually feel able to do that. But at the same time, you guys have to understand that you haven't said your last word here. Like, yes, that Michael Myers is maybe back, but now that you know it, you will get ready now. You will do the steps necessary or preparation necessary to either build more confidence around this idea first, and eventually you might become comfortable in the future. Or not, who knows, but at least you will have a clear answer now, and you will have respected yourself, pile 4. So your guides, they really want you to investigate where that resistance comes from. For you to really see here if that fear, that comes with excitement because that is just something new. And if it is the case, then go for it. But if it's a fear that comes out of warning to protect your integrity and Empress energy with this card, then it's more than acceptable for you to push things for later at a moment where it will feel more right for you. And there is nothing wrong with that. Give it all of the adjustments that you need and the time that you need, okay? Like the Empress that is pregnant, you can't just really rush a woman at making her own baby, you know? Like, you can't say that a woman deciding to not have a baby is any less of a woman. That is the Empress energy. So you cannot rush Mother Nature or force her to do these things that is not in her own cycles to be able to do. That's the same thing with yourself, pile 4. That's how you're supposed to be treating yourself right now. And my flame is going wild right now. Look at that. See, confirmation now The whole room's gonna catch on fire because of that. So you are asked right there to treat yourself as such, so that the next time you are presented with a similar situation, you are so precise, you reach your target with accuracy, exactly like this Eight of Wands. You see how those wands, they are all directed and pointing in the same direction. They're all aligned perfectly. This is a perfectly synchronized blow. This is something those wands had to train for. And if you can't synchronize just yet with that attack, then you have to train yourself for it. So your spirit team wants you to set new intentions right now, so that you can go back to the battlefield more ready and prepared than ever before to strike your wrath against that petty King of Swords reverse. So you are preparing now for the next big thing, where you will be ready to welcome every little bit of what you have asked for to come through. Next time, you will be ready to feel this wholeheartedly. And that is the moment like that you deserve, Pal 4. You deserve that thing that will come into your life because you will have chosen it to be so. And because you will have commanded it to come to you. This experience, it came into your life to throw you off balance a little, so that you could get really specific about what you want, who you're all about, and what you need. It came into your life to activate you to get a little more precise and accurate with what you want to bring forth in your life. No matter if these are the right opportunities, the right timing, the right people that you are attracting, you have to calculate that more. That's why this King of Swords is also reversed, I feel. To really get precise and strategized with this next attack back that you are going to give back. And to really stand by your convictions and boundaries. Next time, you're not going to be the prey. You're going to be the hunter, with a card of the wolf and the spider. So you guys, I'm so goddamn proud of you. I needed to say it again. I'm so proud of you, man. So I hope that this reading could bring a bit of healing, compassion, and understanding to your fears right now, Pal 4. I want to thank you for spending this time with me and for making me your humble guide during this reading. And a special thank you to your spirit team as well as my spirit team for those messages that they wanted to share with us today. And I hope that you keep in touch, I hope that we will see each other soon on my channel again. I also wanted to mention, if some of you are interested into checking out my private tarot services, I offer online tarot readings on my store. So the link to that will be down below in the description box if some of you are interested. And otherwise, I wish you all an amazing rest of your day. And I will try to blow off this candle now because it's freaking me out. Bye, guys.